Today we're going to talk about the game Return to Dark Tower. Now before I get into Return to Dark Tower, we're going to have to talk a little bit about Dark Tower, which is the game that came along before this. Return to Dark Tower is made by Restoration Games. What Restoration is known for is taking old games that have gone out of print, getting the rights to them, putting a little bit of a new spin on them, and putting them back out. And that's what they've done here with Return to Dark Tower. But before you can understand what's going on with this, we have got to talk about that old game. Because that old game was really something that came along in the early 80s. And the big selling point on Dark Tower was the titular tower. Now, the original Dark Tower was the height of 1980s consumer electronics, or early 80s. Milton Bradley Electronics, who put out this game, and wanted to make a big splash with it, so they put out this commercial.
Last night I journeyed backwards in time to the medieval world of Dark Tower. In this amazing game, I had to find 3 keys, lay siege to the tower, and defeat the enemy within. Each move was a challenge. The computer kept track, giving me secret information, pictures, sounds, surprises. Then, ahead of my opponent, I made my move. The battle was joined, and I was victorious. Dark Tower.
And yes, in that commercial, that was Orson Welles. They went and got somebody really big there. The tower had all this crazy stuff going on with it there. It had like the LEDs at the top for the numbers. It had lights in it. It had like little spinny bits inside it that could show different things. And it had all these buttons on it where the tower kind of worked as your game master of sorts. You can see that you were able to, it would control all the battles, tell you what was going on with those. It would tell you what you could buy at the bazaar. It did everything on it.
Now it's asking, is the silver key the second key? Well, we'll try that one for yes as well. And we are right. So we've unlocked the gates to the tower and are at war with the brigands. Fortunately, we have a ton of brigands to their 16. We have 23, 4. We are beating them very handily. So at the cost of 1 warrior, I managed to defeat all 16 of the brigands in the tower. And am victorious.
And so if you got that, you were obviously like the coolest kid. Now I'm a little too young to have really gotten into that because I was like 3 when that came out. So it wasn't really playing Dark Tower. You know, it was more like Candyland. But you can see that they wanted to try to get the feel of that game back into this. That you needed to have a big crazy tower that was part of it. And of course this tower is like way more awesome looking than what we had back then. And also there's no reason to put the buttons on it and have the tower control all of it. I mean, you could just have your tablet do it and use the app. Got this Return to Dark Tower app now, so. And this tower does run on AA's, and it Bluetooth where you can control it from like your tablet or your phone. And one of the things I like on here is when you turn this on, they gave this thing like, tried to give it a nod back to the original. Yeah. Oh, look, you see it's got like the red lights on it now. So I filmed one of my playthroughs with this, putting the app up on the screen at the same time so you could see it. And I'm going to cut some of that footage in here to kind of demonstrate what's going on with this game. I'm not going to go into a lot of details on the mechanics of how to play this game and how it all works. The app will take you through a lot of it. Tower's doing, tower is ready. Two-core game and 1 player. Okay, so we're gonna select our guys, and we'll go with the Ash Strider, and we'll go with the Brigands. Mirror, sure. A dragon, because you gotta have dragons. Each bazaar and village. Okay. For Ice Fangs, which is by my sanctuary. Here we go. Recover Azkul's treasures. You do need to go through this manual, and this is a bit heavier manual than a lot of other games that I do. I mean, you can tell this is like a full-size pages here, and we've got like 28 pages through this thing. They tried to recreate a lot of the game there. You have the circular map with the 4 kingdoms, the kingdoms going with one of the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. And you'd have the 4 players that would go into each one. The original Dark Tower was a competitive game, and while Return to Dark Tower does have a competitive mode, the cooperative mode is what it is at its heart. So each of the players will take one of the 4 kingdoms, and you have 4 different guys that you can play as. We have the Relic Hunter, the Spy Master, the Brutal Warlord, and the Orphaned Scion. Each of them have a little bit different powers and things they can do. And of course they have minis for each of these guys because, yeah, of course they do. And if you think they look a lot like unmatched minis, well, I mean, it is restoration, so, you know, got a good thing going with those unmatched minis. Why do anything different here for Return to Dark Tower? So you're going to have Spirit, which is the currency that you use in the game, and you're going to have your army and your soldiers that you will build up. You have your different foes that you have to go against. You're going to have like your smaller ones that will be around there. The Brigands, which were the guys that you fought in the original game. Levels 2 through 5 that you will have. You'll have 1 level 5 foe out there, and that will be the main one that you're after, that you have to battle. You'll also have things that you'll have to deal with. There'll be tasks in there that you have to deal with. New quests. Smuggler's Coin. You'll have little dungeons that you can go down into and get things out of. You get little companions that are kind of like sidekicks that can help you there. First player gains Zeta as a companion. Your Sanctuary, Citadel, Village, and Bazaar, each of those do different things for you. You go to those, you have to save them from having bad things happen to them. You have to build up the army to go after your big foe. There's a lot that you have going on in the game. And one of the big things you have to do is you have to feed these skulls. And you feed the skulls to the tower. You just drop them in. At the end of every turn, you have to drop a skull in. I think I'm done at the end of my turn here. See what happens when I drop it. Event. We'll see what happens on the event. The tower has these seals that come on and off and has glyphs under them that can light up that mean things. Oh, it's going to rotate. Now whenever I battle, it is going to cost me one of these. It can also have a hole underneath it, which skulls could come pouring out of. And skulls falling out of the tower onto your kingdom is bad. All right, I have to remove this seal. Oh no, these fell out. And these 2 skulls fell out. Well, I have to put these skulls somewhere. But the game will be played in a series of months. You have 6 months to go over the game, and each month will be a certain number of turns. Now the first month will be 1 turn per player for that first month. That's just to kind of get going. Your other months, they will have some number, and you don't know exactly how many you're gonna have. And so a month could just end, and then it becomes the next month at the end of someone's turn. And you don't necessarily know if it's going to make it around to you again on the next month. As you get into battles, the battles are going to be, you have to select a certain number of the cards that are put out on the screen. And the number of cards you have to pick will be based off of the level of threat that foe is. If it's like a level 2, it's just, okay, it's 2 cards all the way up to the level 5, which is going to be 5 cards. And bad things happen on all those. Now you'll be able to get advantages at certain points. And if you get an advantage, you can have so many advantages in each battle, and you can decide to use it. And using the advantage there will make the negative effects of that card that you flip over get a little bit better. So it won't do as much to you when you hit the advantage. And then I will battle the Lemure, which will be mine. Okay, this is a 3, so I gotta pick 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. Lose 2 spirit. All right, I can afford to lose 2 spirit. Lose 2 warriors for each skull on or adjacent to my space. There aren't any. Sweet. And 3. I lose 7 warriors. I do get 1 advantage, so let's go ahead and do the advantage here, because I mean, lose 4 warriors. Sure. But each of the different ones that you go up against will have certain types of foes that they are, such as the brigands are stealth and humanoid. So if you have an advantage against wild, advantage against stealth, or advantage against humanoid, you get some advantage against the brigands. Oryx are melee and undead. Spine fiend are magic and beast. And everybody will have different combinations of them. These cards here, these are basically just reference cards to show you what each one is. Like the Titan here, which is a number 4 here. We can see that this shows that he's melee and humanoid, and it tells us what types of things he does during battle. These cards are really good informational things for you here, and the rule book doesn't really tell you about those. Whenever you end up, whether you select that foe specifically, or if you pick a random one and it gives it to you, you're going to want to use these cards just as a reference to keep track of all the information on them. It's a very good thing there, something that's easy to miss because it doesn't really tell you what to do with them. It isn't too hard of a thing to play once you get a grasp about all the rules. It just takes a little bit to get to that point because, yeah, it is a lot to take in on the rules. Like I said, it's quite a bit. It's easy to miss a lot of stuff. I'm sure the first few times I played this, we did a lot of things wrong with it. Giving you a lot of things I like about it. A few of the little things that are probably little hits against it. A lot of the small foes and a lot of the additional things you have to do, the additional quests, they seem very much kind of like side quests and really not something that you need to do, and the game doesn't necessarily make you want to have to go into it and deal with that. Now that is going to be on the more basic gameplay as you bring it up in there to the other options, which just has a lot of options. If you go in there and look on the app and do the setup, there's quite a bit you can pick in there, and it changes things quite a bit on there and everything you have to do through it, and that can force you to have to get into these more. You can also go into the more gritty gameplay, that's an option to select gritty, and that will make it harder for you. The base game doesn't come with a lot of minis. The minis you have are going to be these and these pieces here, the skulls, and then the tower, and pretty much everything else are just your little the cardboard punched out things. Like your foes are just going to be like, you know, things like this here, you know, and these will go down, and if they're supposed to be somewhere, if the clan of Neri is supposed to be somewhere, you know, you'll just put them down on that space. Really, you're throwing a lot of the value of this game into this guy right here. Which the other thing is, if you're needing to play around on the other side of it and see a seal or something, it's like, it's over there, I can't see that side. If you got multiple players, you can kind of get on either side and that can help. But for solo, it gets a little hard. I've seen people on solo use a Lazy Susan underneath this so you can actually spin it around. I mean, you can do it this way, but you just got to be careful with it and make sure you're not, you know, messing up stuff as you spin it. The Lazy Susan makes it a lot easier. If you plan on doing this solo a lot, that's probably an investment. They do have the neoprene play mat that goes out, but it's actually larger. And you can tell this guy is already pretty big. And you got to have room around it. And making it bigger, for me, is not really an option. I like the neoprene, but making this thing bigger than what it already is, I can already barely get this thing on here. Now we'll go into the expansions a little bit for this. I don't have any of the expansions yet, so I haven't played them. There's 3 expansions. I can give you a little bit of info about what's up with all of them. There's the Dark Horde. And the Dark Horde is just, minis. It's minis. So instead of having all these things that are, you know, have these things be your foes, you know, you'll have minis for all of your foes. Which makes the game look a lot cooler when you got minis. I mean, you know, you got these 4 guys here. That's awesome, you know, but having more minis is better, and it's a lot of minis because it's going to be minis for like 1 mini for all of these. You have 2 other ones there, Alliances and Covenant, which add things to it. Alliances add like these guilds that you have that will end up affecting how you do things on there. Covenants will replace some of the buildings with other like monuments that have to be built, and you have to do things to build that, and you've got to get that built to do things there, and that changes the gameplay on all of them. Once again, don't have that, so I haven't played those yet, so I can't give you a whole lot of information on them. Also, Alliances and Covenant also come with, between the 2 of them, 6 more characters that you can play as. But that's what's going on with those expansions. And we know that there is something that Restoration has in the works that they are still working on. So what we have out for Return to Dark Tower is not going to be it for the game. There's going to be more coming along. This is quite a game here. Really a major centerpiece thing here, this tower, because this is just really a great, awesome thing there. But definitely is a fun game, and if it's the sort of thing that you're interested in, it's definitely worth taking a look at. You can find a lot of playthroughs on the internet and see people actually play this on YouTube and get a little bit of an idea how it works. So if you like this video, you can give this a thumbs up and a like. You can go down into the comments section and let me know what you think of all this down there. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you catch all the videos I post so you don't miss anything. This is Jeremy with Poindexter G, and we'll see you around next time.